Right, good morning, James, Chance. Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Good morning, Paul. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you both. Right, let's get into this. I've got a few questions that I want to pose to you both. First one, James, coming to you first. Tell me a little bit more about Bridge of Hope Careers, if you could.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us on this. I much appreciate it. And also for being wonderful partners at AMS. So Bridge of Hope Careers, very simplistically, we are a social enterprise. Our claim to fame is that we've all got extreme lived experience. We're not going to go into backstories right now, but mine involved a load of privilege, then getting pretty well to the top of the corporate ladder, and then falling off it spectacularly through bipolar and bad luck. And then I experienced something that I'd never experienced before, which was barriers to entry, to employment. Bottom line is nobody would give me a job. And so anyway, from that, 6 years ago, I decided to try and help other people with barriers to employment significantly worse than myself. And so Bridge of Hope, in essence, is trying to bridge the gap between untapped talent or candidates from underrepresented groups to inclusive employers. We've been going 3 years as a social enterprise. Our stretch goal was to have 1,500, 1,800 candidates, and right now we have 76,000 candidates from over 100 charities, social enterprises, boot camps, and non-Russell unis, and we connect them to 60 or 70 blue chip corporates and agencies who are looking for wonderful candidates.
Brilliant summary, thank you for that. Chance, coming to you next then. So James has just referred to the candidates that you're working with, and I know you work with a sort of a diverse pool of candidates. How do you go about supporting them?
Well, this is and really important stuff as well. We get our candidates fed in through a variety of different channels, and one of those are the charities. There's 105 of them we've been working with over the years, and they pledge to offer support not just before the candidates get into the job, but whilst they're on the job, which is great. We have a bunch of candidates who just identify as system impacted, marginalised or disadvantaged, and they come through. And so we created what we call a coalition of skills and support partners to ensure that there's support in place. So as an example, if a candidate wanted some extra qualifications, they can access those for free with our partnership with the City and Guilds. But two that were really super important, and they can access the government portal as well. We have that there, particularly for mothers with children, and they need that support when they're caring for kids, etc. But the two that really were really important to us is the financial support. And so with signposting, any of our candidates that might need some access to their wages before payday, that can be arranged. For example, if a candidate works 2 weeks, they can access 2 weeks' wages, not 3. So it's fair. But this is important because it doesn't matter who you are. If you go into a new role, a new job, you're out of your comfort zone. Now, if you're experiencing social anxieties from neurodivergence or imposter syndrome and this type of thing, and a utility bill comes in whilst you're trying to work your month in hand, it's going to raise anxiety. So now a candidate can say, right, I'll take a week out of 2 weeks I've worked, pay that bill and carry on down the good path. And the other piece of financial support, which we find absolutely important, is the free financial advice. Everyone should have it, really. It's not just for the candidates, it's extended to the whole family. And the reason for this is simply because if you're the one in your family that's landed that good job, got a diploma or a degree, it's not just yours. The whole family just got a job. The whole family just got a diploma. The whole family just got a degree. And so everyone in that family banks their hopes in one person. Anyone with financial troubles, talk to Chance. He knows what he's doing. He'll sort you out. And it's a privilege to be in a position where you can turn around and support friends and family, but it's still a financial pressure. So now a candidate can say, of course I can support you, cousin or friend John, and introduce you to some professionals this time. They'll create a budget and clear path for you to get out of your financial troubles, maintain your independence. That reduces the pressure from our candidates, but it gives them something important. It gives them the feeling that they have something there they can turn around and support family members with.
Right. Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you. Really, really interesting and super important. James, coming to you next. Obviously, there is continues to be a really important focus on diversity, equity, inclusion. Many organisations are prioritising it. there is a bit of a backlash going on right now against DEIB, unfortunately. But you and I have talked a lot about inclusive hiring and the importance of that. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? What's the business rationale for inclusive hiring?
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. And you know, we've seen it out there as well. And so, you know, first of all, to stress, we're not a charity, and our ethos is not to say, look, you know, hire these people because it would really be nice to help them. It's about, this is an incredible talent pool that just typically ignored. But don't listen to us. There has been a bunch of research around inclusive hiring. You know, two organizations with a ton of credibility, CIPD and Business in the Community, have both looked and done a bunch of research here. And they both came out with fairly similar observations, as it were, or research. And that was pretty stark, to be honest. And what they did was they compared what we call untapped talent or underrepresented groups to average talent, typical talent, whatever semantics you want to use. But the research was very startling and very clear. That untapped talent basically crushed typical talent on pretty well every metric. But three where they just blew the doors off. One was productivity. They work way harder. Secondly, was retention. They stay way longer. And thirdly, they come with grit and resilience. And why does that matter? Well, it actually is proven to be the #1 predictor for success is resilience and grit. And it's definitely worth having a look at the Angela Duckworth TEDx on grit. The research proves this is far more effective than qualifications, track record, etc.
People who've been in prison, ex-offenders, this is something that really interests me particularly, Chance, and it's good. There's some good examples where, you know, if you think about Timpson's, the amazing work that Timpson's have done to employ ex-offenders. And I think I strongly believe there's a pool of untapped talent there that organisations could attract. What do organisations need to do, Chance, to really start to kind of go into that area? Because there are barriers in the way.
Yeah, there are. You know, one of the things that they need to do is to understand a few of the things that creating those stigmas and stereotypes to move those aside. You know, when we were a charity, we ran a project called Project Venture, and that ran for 4 years. And in that 4 years, this was to get people who come into contact with the criminal justice system to set their own businesses up, small businesses. And in that 4 years, not one person returned back to prison. And we know 80% of small businesses fail. So it was the lifestyle change and the thirst for opportunity and acceptance in a particular new life, and they just don't want to go back. And you know, when Timpson was asked that similar question, you know, did anyone steal anything, he said, actually, yes, they did, but it was never from the group that came from prison. You know? And so these are some of the things that people need to understand. When you are faced with so much barriers, you cannot get a job, you are now left with choices, and those choices can be quite stark. Become a vagrant and beg and live in the street, or hustle in some way or other to survive and have the things that the other kids and people have got around you. So what we have here is people who just didn't get the opportunity. They've taken their entrepreneurial spirits, etc., and taken it where they can. And what we have to look at is the transferable skills they offer. Now, we know they don't go back. So what they do, they bring those skills across, and you get to benefit from them. Those skills are negotiation skills that you'll have, the work ethic that you'll find from these people are incredible. You know, Timpson's, they made a point of hiring people who were drug dealers because they are businessmen and women. You change the product, they're doing the same as many others. Right? You know, so it's looking at those transferable skills and what can you bring across from those. And my gosh, you are going to find the most innovative people you'd ever cast your eyes upon. You know, and I can tell you that I've heard of, I mentor a lot of young men, and I always ask them what their dream job is. Not one of them said drug dealer, but they say shoe designers, jewelers, engineers. So they're not doing what they want to do, you know. And so and the work ethic is incredible. I've heard of people say to me that they've stayed up, 24 hours for 2 days dealing and doing hustle in the streets.
Yeah.
And you could start that long working and consistently, I don't know, a 9-to-5er willing to do that for any company. So I mean, really bring these people across, and that's where you get the resilience, the grit, the drive, and their motivation has already long ago morphed into a determination, and that's why productivity goes up when you get people like this in the workplace.
Well, I think your passion comes through there, and I do think there's a massive opportunity for organisations with this, and kudos to James Timpson for the incredible work that he's done for his organisation. James, coming to you next. Our world is changing all the time. What are some of the trends you're seeing that are going to drive this kind of focus on inclusion, social mobility, etc.?
Well, two things I think for me, one of which is, and maybe this is a wish versus a trend, but the wish, but we're determined to try and see if we can do our bit, and obviously in collaboration with all these wonderful organizations like AMS. The wish is to say, look, forget about inclusive hiring. It should just be the norm. We don't want it to be, a little pocket that people are doing the right thing and being, we want it to be standard that every organization or every progressive organization realizes, of course you're going to do inclusive hiring, of course you're going to expand your talent pool, why would you not? So there's that piece, and then I think there's going to be, and we've talked about this before, a huge shift around hiring neurodivergent talent. We make no bones, Chance is dyslexic, I'm bipolar, most of us in our organization have mental health, have had some challenges, but we again, it's flipping that model to say, actually, why would you not hire people who think differently? The diversity piece, 5 years ago was just basically ethnic or gender. Slowly it's moving to a couple of other characteristics. But the obvious one of the lot is saying, surely you want to have people who think differently. Because regardless of color or gender, if you all get the same kind of mindset, you ain't going to get any innovative thinking. You're not going to move forward your organization as well. So if you were actively to say, hold on a second, let's look at some of these roles. If we've got a compliance role or a highly detailed role, why are we not actively going after autistic talent? Especially as they could work from home and they will work and do that. Or maybe marketing, you could be looking at dyslexic. And in bipolar, our superpower is innovation.
Right, last question. Coming to you, Chance. We are proud to have you, the organisation Bridge Folk Careers, as part of our D&I Alliance. I wonder if I can kind of get a perspective from you in terms of what you see as the opportunity being part of this wonderful alliance.
This is one great alliance, I can tell you as well, with your MyG networks, even it's just absolutely fantastic. And if you look back, the very reason why we're here with our freedoms today is because in the 40s it was a coalition that came together to win that war. The war today is on inclusion. It's to bring about a level of inclusion. And I know change only happens in coalition. So once we create those coalitions, bring everyone together, create those networks and move with purpose, let's call this a movement. And when you look at things through those eyes, this is a movement. Let's join hands and make changes, because if we join hands and make those changes, believe me when I tell you this, there are children there watching. And when we don't, I can tell you there are children there watching. So it's up to us to inspire those generations that are going to look after us as when we're older, and granddads and grandmothers. We need to do this to inspire through other people, and we must draw that coalition together and join hands. I think the alliance is absolutely fantastic and special, and it's already going some way to shifting and changing lives. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. Brilliant response. And that brings us to the end of our session. I've always enjoyed talking to both of you. You inspire me. The topic is something that is personally, very motivating for me. And I've loved the conversation. So thank you both. and I look forward to seeing you both soon.
Thank you, Paul. It's brilliant to be part of the Alliance. Much appreciated.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you.